Let's go over to net neutrality. If you guys recall, yesterday on the stream, they were in the full committee. They were deliberating in the full committee as we were streaming. We thought they're probably not going to have any results until after our stream is over. So we might not have an update. Well, we do have an update now. And guess what? It passed the full committee intact. A clean bill passed the full committee. It's going to the House as early as next week. Let's see what's going on. This is from Evan Greer. Some of you guys might remember Evan when she was on the show. If you haven't checked out my interview with Evan, please do. She was a fantastic guest. Yeah. I said it like guest. Like she guessed something. She was a fantastic guest. We talked about her record, which comes out, I think tomorrow. Is tomorrow the 5th? Yeah, tomorrow's the 5th. Her record comes out tomorrow. It's fantastic. I got to preview it. It's great. Pick it up. Evan Greer. And check out the interview with her on my page. But Fight for the Future gave an update. We won this one again. Let's go to her release and Fight for the Future's release. Today, the Save the Internet Act, H.R. 1644, passed a crucial vote in the House Energy and Commerce Committee, despite a wave of disingenuous attempts by telecom-funded lawmakers to derail the bill or gut its key protections with bad amendments. The bill was reported out of the committee largely unscathed and will now head to the House floor as early as next week. Digital rights group Fight for the Future has been leading an online campaign to assure the bill's passage. So here's what Evan had to say. Telecom lobbyists should just give up now. Despite ISP giants like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T spending hundreds of millions of dollars on lobbying, misinformation campaigns, and buying influence through campaign contributions, they've failed to fool the public, and efforts to restore net neutrality are moving forward. It's embarrassing watching telecom shills in these committee votes attempt to turn this into a partisan issue when it's actually quite simple. The overwhelming majority of voters from across the political spectrum want Congress to do their jobs and restore these basic protections that never should have been taken away in the first place. The Save the Internet Act would do exactly that. Bolstered by internet activism and massive public attention, net neutrality supporters of the Energy and Commerce Committee successfully defeated a swath of terrible amendments that would have completely gutted H.R. 1644. Two amendments did pass, one that simply clarifies the initial intent of the bill, and one that creates a one-year exemption from transparency requirements for small ISPs, that's internet service providers with less than 100,000 subscribers. While such an exemption is unnecessary, given that many small ISPs say they're happy to comply with such requirements, the amendment is closely aligned with the intent of the 2015 Open Internet Order and does not undermine the core protections within the bill. So, yeah, basically, small ISPs are not the culprits here. The culprits are AT&T, Comcast, Verizon. Small ISPs are mostly the internet service providers that exist to fight this stuff in the first place anyway. The city-owned co-ops and stuff like that. So those amendments, I think, are fine. So the bill went through largely unscathed. What does this mean? Okay, so it went through the subcommittee unscathed. It went through the full committee unscathed. That means it goes to the House next. There's a good chance it will pass the House. There is not a good chance it will pass the Senate. And if it were, there's likely Trump wouldn't sign it. I don't think Trump would sign it. I think maybe with enough public pressure and if the FCC just kind of backed off, maybe he. I doubt it though. I'd say there's about. I'd say there's an equal unlikelihood that it won't get through to the Senate or to Trump's desk. But yeah, I'd say it's unlikely that either of those scenarios would happen. I mean, obviously it doesn't get to the Senate, it won't get to Trump's, but you know what I mean. So the good news though is that the public is speaking, they're speaking loud, and because of all this, the internet service providers' hands are tied in doing anything about net neutrality, meaning they can't price gouge the internet from us. They can't hijack our connection with cable 2.0 packages. They can't create fast lanes and slow lanes. They can't offer paid prioritization. They can't do any of that stuff because it's being battled out in the courts in various states, and we are fighting on this level as well. And the public is speaking, and the elected officials are forced to listen. I mean, this is something that over 80% of citizens want. 80% of citizens want net neutrality. And that number is growing because more people are being made aware of the issues. Municipal broadband is growing across the country because people are realizing we got to take the internet out of the corporations' hands and put it into the hands of the cities. And that's something I'm fighting to do here in Pasadena. It's been a long climb, but I'm working on it. And this is good news. It passed the full committee, and it passed unscathed. That is huge news. And shout out to Fight for the Future, who's been working so hard on this on the front lines. Shout out to Free Press, who's been working so hard on the front lines, and the Center for Media Justice. And I know the EFF. I know I'm not remembering every organization out there, but the one thing that's very uplifting here, there are a lot of organizations committed to digital rights and internet freedom and freedom of the press, and they're all doing very, very great work. And I try to highlight as many of them as I can on this show to be another platform. And it's a good thing they're around. You know, it's... Fortunately, there's still some of us that are doing what we can, trying to save net neutrality. Because if we don't, the free and open internet as we know it will be gone. It will be taken away. So this is a victory. There's still a long way to go, but it's another victory. It's another battle that we won. And we'll see what happens in the House. I have a feeling this will not be signed by Donald Trump, obviously, but it's still good because it's still tying the hands of the big cable companies, because they can't do something if it's just going to be rolled back. So this is good. There's still a long way to go. And in the interim, remember, the way to end the metaphorical war for the free and open internet is to take the internet out of big cable's hands. And we can do that one community at a time by building our own city-owned internet. And I know a lot of you are working on that. I'm working on it myself. It's not an easy feat. It's not an easy feat, but it's not impossible. And it's essential. All right. So that's a net neutrality update. We had a win. That's good. Wins are cool. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news